All right, today we're doing section 4.3, which is graphing proportional relationships. This is very similar to what we have done in the past with graphing and also with finding slope. It's just using a little bit different terminology. So our first different terminology or different vocab word is direct variation. And direct variation is when two quantities, x and y, are proportional. The relationships can be represented by the direct variation equation y equals mx, where m is the constant of proportionality. Now, I know those are a lot of big words, but please write this down. The constant of proportionality is the same thing as slope. And remember, slope, the abbreviation, you write that down. So, if you're looking at a graph, the graph of y equals mx is a straight line, that's important, with a slope of m that passes through the origin. Remember, the origin is right here. The origin is the point 0, 0. So just to recap, for this graph, for any graph to show a proportional relationship, it must be a straight line, which means it has a constant slope, and it also must pass through the origin or contain the point 0, 0. So let's look at some examples. Looking at example 1, remember the two things I'm looking for. Is it a straight line and does it go through the origin? Yes, this is a straight line. No, it does not go through the origin. So this does not show a proportional relationship. I know this is a lot to write. I should have written does not. Does not show a proportional relationship. Why? It does not pass through the origin. 2, it passes through the origin right here at 0, 0. It is also a straight line. So this does show a proportional relationship because it passes through 0, 0, which is the origin, and it's a straight line. Now, that's how you do it when you look at a graph. When you look at a table, you're looking for a couple different things. First of all, we're still trying to see if it's a straight line. And the way that you tell that if a table is a straight line is it has to have a constant slope. So from 1 to 2 is plus 1. From 2 to 3 is plus 1. From 3 to 4 is going up by 1. The x's is constant as well. It's going up by 3, and up by 3. These have to be the same, and these have to be the same for there to be a constant slope. Okay, and my constant slope is change in y over the change in x, which is 1/3. Now, the second part to tell whether or not something is a proportional relationship is it must pass through the point 0, 0. Or nowhere on this table is 0, 0. Okay, but what you can do is you can extend the table to see if it includes the point 0, 0. So instead of going up by 1, I'm going to go down by 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0. You're basically adding to this table, okay? And if I added 3 here, I'm going to subtract 3 up here, and 3 minus 3 is also 0. So now it contains the point, trying to get a different color highlighter, it contains the point 0, 0, and it has a constant slope, okay? So does this show a proportional relationship? Yes. It has a constant slope and contains the point 0, 0. Number 4, let's check the slope first. We're going up by 4, then 8 to 13 is up by 5, and then 13 to 23 is up by 10. Okay, let's check up here. 2 to 5 is plus 3, 5 to 8 is plus 3, 8 to 10 is plus 2. This does not have a constant slope. If you were to graph those points, it would not make a straight line. Okay, and you also can't extend the table to see if it passes through the origin because it doesn't have a constant slope or a straight line. So right away, this does not show a proportional relationship because it does not have a constant slope. All right, let's look at some more problems. Next page. There are no on your owns on this section, so I'm doing it all with you, so bear with me. The amount Y in dollars that you raised by selling X fundraiser tickets is represented by the equation Y equals 5X. So does the equation show a proportional relationship? Now, remember, proportional relationship has to pass through the origin and has to contain the point 0, 0. Okay, but we don't have either of those. We don't have a table and we don't have a graph. Okay, but we do have an equation, and our equation is Y equals 5X. Remember, the equation from the beginning has to be in the form of Y equals mx. And right now it is, and our m is equal to 5. So that number right there, that's it. So does this equation show a proportional relationship? Yes, it does. How do I know that? It's in Y equals mx form. If you were to make a table and you were to graph that equation, when x is 0, y would have been 0. When x is 1, y would have been 5. When x is 2, y would have been 10. Constant slope, which means it's a straight line, and it goes to the point 0, 0. So B says interpret the slope. This is our favorite word. Interpret means to tell me in a sentence what the slope means in the context of the problem. So we need to use labels, and we need to kind of explain what the slope is 5. Which if I want to write that as a fraction to be able to use both labels, it's 5 over 1. I can put any whole number over 1. Okay. 5 stands for $5 because up here in the equation it says Y in dollars that you sell X fundraising tickets. So 1 is tickets. So if I were to interpret this, I would say they raise. Kiddos are about to walk in my room, so bear with me. They raise $5 for every one ticket sold. And that is how you interpret the slope. I wrote a sentence, I used both of my labels, dollars and tickets, and I wrote a sentence. All right, so number 4 says the cost Y in dollars to rent a kayak is proportional to the number of X hours that you rent the kayak. It costs $27, that's your Y. To rent the kayak for 3 hours, that's your X. So if I was writing an equation, I need a slope. Slope is the change in Y over the change in X. My change in Y is $27. My change in X is my 3 hours. Okay, so if I simplify that, 27 over 3 simplifies to $9, and that is equal to 9. So if my slope is 9 and my equation for the constant of proportionality needs to be in the form of Y equals mx, then my equation is Y equals 9x. So interpret the slope. What does it mean in the context of my slope is $9 over 1 hour. So that means it cost $9 to rent a kayak for every 1 hour you use it. So how much does it cost to rent the kayak for 5 hours? Well, 5 hours is my x. So if I write my equation, y is equal to 9x. And if x is 5, that means y is equal to 9 times 5. So it costs $45 to rent a kayak for 5 hours. And this table at the bottom just kind of reiterates what we just talked about. A graph has to be a straight line and pass through the point 0, 0. Your table has to have a constant slope and go through 0, 0. And your equation needs to be in the form of y equals mx.